So what is the digital economy? What I want to share with you is how to profit from it, because we're at the ground floor of a huge, a massive mega trend. And we're about 5 years into that mega trend, and most people haven't woken up to it yet. So the goal here with this presentation is to give you the context for that conversation so you understand kind of where the global economy is, where it's come from, how we got to where we are, and where it's going. To understand where we are now, what I want to do is go back about 100 years so that you can understand what the primary drivers of the economy have been over the last 100 years, and how advertising and marketing have played a role in that. And then, so the first half of the presentation is kind of the history of marketing, the last 100 years of advertising and marketing, how we've got to where we are, or where we were about 5 years ago, and then the current state of the economy, and then the opportunity that exists. So there's actually 3 parts to what I'm going to talk about. So in the 1800s, this was marketing. A town crier was the guy who announced in the town center the news, right? And basically, if you were within earshot of his bullhorn, you got the message. And if you weren't within earshot, you had to rely on somebody who was within earshot of somebody else who was within earshot, so on and so forth. So information and marketing and messaging and news in general, it traveled at a much slower. Then in the first part of the 20th century, print advertising became really big and really popular. Billboards, huge signages that were appended onto or fixed onto buildings. And these worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And once they were on the wall, anybody driving by, as long as it was light out, could see them. So outdoor advertising really revolutionized marketing. Then print media came. And newspapers, namely, and daily journals were the primary form of marketing and also the primary way of information being shared, news being shared, etc. So that give people a much broader way to reach a lot more people with a lot more leverage. The transistor radio changed everything a few years after that, because there, all of a sudden, space and physical location that line was severed. You know, me saying something here can be disseminated to 1 million people simultaneously. That changed everything. It wasn't long after that until television came along. And television incorporated a whole different level of communication, because it brought the family together. So instead of just going to the radio to get information, now the family was gathered around it, around the television, or the telly, is that what you call it here? And it pulled them in. The programming pulled them in with entertainment. And then that created an opportunity to advertise or to market to the entire family through TV commercials. And you can see here how in less than 100 years, how we've gone from one-on-one communication or relying on one-on-one communication to mass media and broadcast media. And then, not too long ago, Al Gore invented the internet. You guys know that joke? Have you heard that joke? So Al Gore invented the internet, Steve Jobs invented the computer. Voila. Here we are. The digital age, right? The digital economy. A whole different world opened up when those two things, when Al Gore and Steve Jobs got married. A whole world opened up, right? Because now individuals like you and I have access to virtually every other person around the world in real time, access to products and services and information in real time, and we can essentially plug into this database called Google, which searches and spiders the web, and the world is literally at your fingertips. Literally at your fingertips. And that's where we are right now. That's where we are right now. But it keeps getting better. It keeps getting better because devices like this, for example, the smartphone in the last 5 years has continued to, has accelerated this revolution. Because now, instead of waiting to go home to check your email, to go online to check the news, it's with us 24/7. So again, times 10, information is being exchanged, speed-wise. Times 10, digital commerce is able to be conducted because you can instantaneously now exchange a digital currency for a digital product like that. And it happens billions of times a day, and it's growing. In the last 10 years, and these are just obviously a couple of them that I threw together, these are all companies that they're digital companies. Like if you think, what is Facebook? Like if you tried to explain Facebook to someone, even in the 80s, before the internet and personal computers were really in use, it would kind of be like explaining it to like an alien. They would have no clue or context what you're talking about. Isn't that crazy how fast things have changed, how fast things are changing? But if you look at all these different companies, each of them have a different product or service, and it's all digital. Not one of these has a physical product that's shipped, or a physical product that's consumed, that you can even touch or feel. It's a digital product. It's a digital experience. It's a digital service. In the last 5 years, the rules of engagement have changed dramatically. And I'm going to show you some charts and graphs so you understand. I'm not just making this up. Literally, there's actually about a year of research that I put into this presentation. Yet, people are still sending their kids to school, the colleges, to get an education that is really obsolete. It's really obsolete. And I'm not just making that up. Like, my kids, they'll go to school, but they're going to go to cutting-edge, high-tech schools that will actually teach them a relevant education and a business conversation that is relevant, so that they can either A, get good jobs, or B, become cutting-edge digital entrepreneurs. But here's proof that the current education system is broken. In the US, 50% of college graduates from the last 4 years, 50%, have yet to find a job. They're still living with their parents. The New York Times reported this past weekend that the number of college students still living with their parents dropped to 46%. And that's a good thing. That means the economy is turning around. That's actually a metric they use to measure the growth of the economy, because if young people can't get jobs, that's a really serious problem. Because at some point, the people that do have jobs who can't keep them, those jobs, in other words, there are no new jobs being created, right? It's scary. The average income of a college graduate, someone who's graduated since 2008, is $35,000. $35,000. That's, what can you do with $35,000? I don't even have words right now. Last week, it was announced, and this is a huge, FU to establishment. The South Dakota School of Mines and Technology, it's a small college in the US, released the median income of a graduate surpassed that of a Harvard graduate. Think about this. The median income is higher than Harvard graduates. Do you know what a Harvard education costs? Like, no less than $200,000 minimum. Like, you're not coming out of there with less than $250,000 education. Why is that? Tens of millions of jobs have been and continue to be digitized, or vaporized, whatever you want to call it. But countless tasks and jobs are being replaced by technology. But you get my point. There's lots of jobs there, but would you really want to go up into northern Canada and work in the oil sands, like covered in black tar, freezing your ass off. Like, it's like 13 months of frigid weather. Like, the sun doesn't even come up for months. You can make 100 grand, but are those the jobs you want your kids to have? But those are the only jobs that are really being created. Harvard's turning out people with all these degrees. There's nowhere for them to work. So who is mostly affected by this transitioning economy? And there's really three groups that are being affected in a really, really significant way. So baby boomers are retiring at a rate of about 10,000 a day right now. The problem is that they're living longer. Well, it's actually not a problem, it's a good thing. But it's also a problem because they don't have the problem is that they're living longer. And the problem for them, I mean, if you think about it, it's you guys are going to live a lot long. Like, life expectancy is increasing very rapidly. So I believe it's the Gen X and the Gen Y responsibility to now pay it back to the next generation. And I believe that there's so much opportunity for us to help the baby boomers reinvent themselves and acquire the mindsets and skill sets required for this new age, this new economy, this digital economy, because times have changed. The rules have changed. What worked 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago doesn't work. That logic no longer works. It's a completely new game. So our job is to teach and to empower and to wake up the baby boomers and say, hey, you don't have to coast into your golden years and lose your dignity. You don't have to lose your home. You can continue, like Dr. Charlie, you can continue to grow as an entrepreneur and as a person and continue to have a life that you're really freaking proud of and not have to count on living on savings. I mentioned the students graduating college without the proper skill sets and mindsets. I'm not sure how it works in Europe or here in the UK, but in the US, when somebody takes out a student loan, it's a government-issued loan. And it is the only type of loan that you can never escape. It will go with you to your grave. And whoever inherits your estate assumes responsibility for that debt. You see, if you default on a car loan, it just goes on your credit, like you defaulted on a car loan, and worst case, they come and get your car. They'll tow it away, but it's gone. Once you've assumed responsibility for student debt, or once a student has assumed responsibility for it, it's theirs for life. They cannot escape it. So there are kids right now that are changing their phone numbers every month because they're hounded. What's happening is the government is selling student loans to debt collection agencies, and they're just having a heyday because they can't go anywhere. And by law, they have to pay that back somehow, some way, sometime. We'll have to figure out someday, I don't know how to help the students, to be honest with you. And then the big one is the workforce. Things outside of your control can happen. Forces outside of your control can happen. And if you're not self-reliant, you're at the mercy of things, politics, global trends, etc., that are just, they're out of your control. So the key point here is that you have to find a way to insulate yourself and become self-sufficient. So let's just say we had a row of bikes out front here. Is there anyone that doesn't know how to ride a bike? Is there anyone that doesn't know how to swim? Okay, good. We can make fun of those people. So let's say there's 50 people in this room, and there's 50 bikes out there. But one of the people in this room doesn't know how to ride a bike. And all of a sudden, the sirens go off, and it says, we're under attack by aliens, and they're marching up the street. We have to escape. And the aliens can move just a little bit faster than you can run. Okay? So these monstrous aliens comes tromping up the street, and we're like, oh shit, let's get on the bike and let's just get out of here. But there's the one guy left who can't ride a bike. Or we're all on a yacht. Say we're celebrating Stuart's 24th birthday. And we're we're in the British Virgin Islands on this yacht, right? This is all 50 of us. And Stuart is having a few cocktails, and he's just having a good time. And he just kind of leans over, and he takes the boat, cuts into a reef, and the boat starts to sink. And land is 100 yards, 200 yards away. No problem. We all just jump in the water and swim to shore, except for the one guy who can't swim. Kind of sucks if you can't swim, right? You kind of need to know that. That's a pretty necessary life skill. Now, the chances of that scenario happening aren't very high. The chances of the aliens coming and us needing to get on our bikes, that's not very high. Let me use one more example. This is getting good. So when you're driving in your car and you have a flat tire. It's the middle of the night, and there's no one around, nobody to help. And you have an emergency, you have to get home. Who in this room, if they absolutely had to, could change a tire on the side of the road? Could figure that out? No?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay. Who in here couldn't do that? Would just be like, okay. Okay, so, I mean, the chances of that happening are not that slim. So you should probably know that skill, right? Or if you got dropped off in a jungle with no compass, no backpack, nothing. You just got dropped off in the middle of a jungle and you had to survive for a week. Could you survive? If you think about like what other plausible scenarios like this could happen in real life where you're really f***ed if you don't know what to do. Well, what percentage of society relies on a job in order to pay their bills, in order to put food on the table, in order to have shelter and basic necessities? 97%. What percentage of those 97% have the skill set of financial survivability? Like if they absolutely had to, could generate enough income as a self-sufficient, autonomous individual that it would not rely on somebody giving them a job and saying, hey, here are some tasks for you to do, complete them, and I'll give you some money in return. And what do you think the percentage chance of, at some point, one of these 97% needing to figure that out? Right? Okay. Well, we are in the business. What we do, what I do, is teach that 97% that skill. You guys get that? Yeah. Can you see the market does not get any bigger? The only people that aren't in our target audience are the 1 or 2% of society that are already financially self-sufficient, financially independent. Everyone else needs this skill set. Or they'll wait until they're absolutely forced to, or their back is against the wall, to start to acquire that. And it's never fun to have to learn that skill set. It's just like, if you wait to learn how to change a tire until you're alone on the side of a road when it's raining and it's dark and there's aliens coming down the street, that's not a very pleasant environment to learn how to change a tire. But you could take 30 minutes on a Sunday afternoon and a couple glasses of wine with your husband. Are you married? Yeah. And say, honey, can you just show me how to change the tire? And I'm sure he could show you how to do it, and then you'd have that.
Can I just ring him and get him to again?
Well, what if you don't have a cell phone? The point is if you wait until you need the skill to acquire the skill, you're probably not going to be, that's kind of stupid, if I could just say it blunt. To wait until the aliens are marching down the street to learn to ride a bike is dumb. It's just dumb. So our job is to wake people up to the fact that they need this skill, even if they don't think they do. Fiona, you told the story about getting laid off from that job. I mean, that happens to, I can't imagine that feeling. Like, I walked away from my job as a defense mechanism because I didn't want anyone ever to take my job from me. But can you speak to that for just like a minute? Like what did your body do? How did you react when you were notified that you were just made redundant?
It was a very emotional experience, and I felt, inside, I felt used, I felt let down, and but I felt that I had in the job, I felt I'd over-delivered. You know, I'd worked hard, I'd built up a team, I had trained a team of 8 people. So I just felt completely dispirited, used and spat out.
And it's amazing that you waited until you got kicked out of the nest, and then you had to figure it out.
Exactly.
You had to figure it out. It wasn't pleasant, but you had to figure it out. Now, what if it had taken you an extra 3 months to figure it out? Like, what are the ramifications that it could have had on your life? Like you said, you were beg, borrowing, and stealing. You were extending your credit cards. That's not a comfortable. It's really difficult to be creative and to create something, especially it's something that requires you to be in an inspired state. To be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be in an inspired, abundant state. How do you do that when the aliens are literally on your doorstep? I mean, so kudos to you for being able to like cut through that and make that happen. Most people can't.
We believed in ourselves, and I think that's what you've got to do, is just believe in yourself. As you say, you know, we had all the tools on board already. We just needed to hone them and believe that we could do it. And I was so adamant that I wasn't going to be treated like that again.
Yeah.
That it gave us the impetus to.
Yeah. And then you got lucky. You found guys that actually knew what they were doing, who said, you don't actually have a real business. You're chasing silver bullets, and you're playing the widget game. And they showed you, they taught you, mentored you with a real life skill set of being able to provide for yourselves.
Yeah.
So cheers, congratulations to you guys. That's amazing. So I was doing research earlier this year on entrepreneurship, because I found that there were the reports of how entrepreneurship was exploding because of the economy going down. But then there were also other reports that were saying that entrepreneurship was on the decline. And so I did some research, and I found that there actually is a segment of entrepreneurship that is exploding. And it's up 250% since 2008. Necessity-driven entrepreneurship. People like Greg and Fiona Scott. I don't know too much about trends and that kind of stuff. Fiona, you're a numbers person, but what does that kind of look like to you? Bit of a trend, maybe?
Yeah, it's going in the right direction.
It's going in the right direction for us because we have the education, the solutions. We have what these people need. It's very unfortunate for them, but in this, because of all of these things that we just talked about, there's a massive, massive trend here. There's a mega trend that's creating a massive opportunity. There's a massive, massive opportunity for a whole host of digital entrepreneurs to solve that problem. That's a huge problem. I mean, it's an opportunity, but opportunities and problems create opportunities. If there's no problem, there's no solution needed, right? So as an entrepreneur, you make money by solving somebody else's problem or providing a solution to a want or a need that they have, right? So as a digital entrepreneur, the secret is to find huge pockets of people having massive problems, come up with a solution for that problem, package it, bring it to them, and allow them to benefit from your product or service, helping them solve their problem. And then the law of remuneration, which is the reciprocation of value and service with money, kicks in, and that's how you get paid. It's real. That's how the economy has always worked. That's the way the law of remuneration works. That's the way business has always been. So this is how us as digital entrepreneurs, how we in the next 10 years are going to make just absolute boatloads of money. Boatloads. Like whatever you feel you want or need financially, you can absolutely achieve by helping solve this problem with us. You guys getting that?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, traditional entrepreneurship, I don't have the chart here, at least I don't think I have it, but it's flat. It's actually down about 5% in the last 4 years. Do cars cost more than they did 10 years ago? Does gas cost more than it did? Does pencils cost more? Does food cost more? Does anything cost less than it did 10 years ago? Maybe computers, maybe? Plasmas? But the vast majority of products and services that we consume, but what's inflation? 1%, 2%, 3% a year? Income's going down. I'm not nearly smart enough to figure out any of this stuff on my own. I just do lots of research. We're just 10 years into this trend. 10 years from now, this will be all like, it's so apparent. This will be common knowledge. Everybody will be talking about this. But right now, only a few people are seeing that it's the digital economy that's growing, and the traditional economy will continue to slide. It will. Another point here, if you look at the US family net worth, is less than it was 20 years ago. That's a 2-decade loss, yeah.
One other point on that, Jay. 20 years ago, I earned all the money in our house to pay our mortgage. Now it takes 2 of us to bring the same amount in. So my wife's got to work full time to stand still.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of people are the same.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
The other thing is, I'll say, as Jay and I were talking about this the other day, is we're in a very fortunate situation that we don't have to think about money. But we were saying that we still can't believe the cost of living. Like, you fill up your tank.
It's $100 to fill up my car.
You know, so
$100.
even though we don't, on a day-by-day basis, you know, I've never witnessed as it is now. You know, I'm 30 years old, and you guys have been around a lot longer. Some of you guys have been around longer than I have.
Don't worry. After we're done today, we'll just stand here, and you can just come and smash us in the face. Just like.
but that's the point. You know, we are aware of what the cost of living is.
Right.
Just speak quickly. We haven't got much time left, us.
As far as Jay's concerned, that was a good thing, wasn't it?
This is from earlier this year, May 15, when I was doing this research. The super rich in Canada, which are the top 3%. In Canada, the Canadian economy is not nearly as stratified as the US economy. Like, the Canadian economy, the poverty line is much higher, and there are not nearly as many super rich. It's much higher percentage of middle class versus the US, where it's like super rich and then super poor and then the people that float in the middle. The point that I'm going to try to make here over the next few slides is that even through this recession, certain people who are correctly positioned are getting richer at a quicker pace. The rich are getting richer. The rich are getting richer. That should fucking piss you off. You want to know what they know. Because there are really 2 groups of people. You're either riding this wave up, or you're dying a slow death with the masses. The super rich, almost 200 times the average wage. The point here is that the super rich, their income is no longer correlated to an exchange of time and money, for example. That's exactly what we do. We sever that connection, that correlation between time expended or energy expended and money earned. Okay? It's a very, very key distinction. The rich grew richer last year, even as the world endured the worst recession in decades. The stock market helped rebound the world's ranks of millionaires climbed 17% to 10 million, while their collective wealth surged 19%, nearly recouping all the losses from the financial crisis, according to the latest Merrill Lynch World Wealth Report. That doesn't really take much explanation. That's the game that you want to play, that we want to play, where you're no longer tied to having to be on a treadmill. Like, years ago, they had the horse on the old treadmill to power the threshing machine. If that horse stopped walking, the thresher stopped running. So if your job is one of where when you stop doing this, that money stops flowing, we have to break that cycle. We have to break that cycle. Because chances are somebody will either find a way to do that job quicker than you, for less money than you, more efficiently than you, and you'll be obsolete. So the goal is to equip you with the mindsets and skill sets of a digital entrepreneur so that you no longer have to exchange your talents and your energy and your time for money. These people here, they're investors. They're in the investor quadrant. If any of you have read the Kiyosaki 4 quadrants, the investor quadrant. Their money is working for them. They don't work for their money. Money is working for them. And they have the lowest tax bracket. The lowest tax bracket. They pay 10 to 15% max on their income. The middle class pays, I pay, just as an employee of my own business, I pay 40% income tax. So the richer you get, the less taxes you pay. It's amazing. Like, we all just need to get rich. How do we know with such certainty that these trends, these two groups, are going to continue in the direction that they're going? And again, I'm not just saying this because it's making for an awesome presentation. Hopefully it is an awesome presentation. But at the current rate of job creation in the US, it'll take another 30 years approximately for the US unemployment rate to return to where it was in 2008 when the economy tanked. Between 2008 and 2010, this was the decline in jobs. Since 2010, this is the progress that we've made. So this is a really cool widget, and it's interactive. You can plug in jobs growth, and then it gives you this trajectory line. So I did it for, 300,000 jobs or 400,000 jobs a month, 2015. 300,000 jobs a month, middle of 2016. 200,000 jobs a month, 2020. 120,000 jobs a month, which is kind of where we've been lumbering along for the last year. This is 2024. If you trend this out, you're looking at about 2040. So anyone who thinks the jobs are coming back quick, it's possible that we'll all of a sudden see a spike, but it's not likely. And I'm certainly not betting on it, because I can't control that. The bigger point, though, is that this means that this market that we have to empower and equip the next generation of people to be financially self-sufficient, because they're going to have to figure out how to pay their bills without a job. It just means that that market's not going away for a while. It's pretty much what that means. So what I suggest to you guys is figure out how to get in the business of capitalizing on this market quick. The quicker you can, the better, because we're just barely into it. Remember I said the last 5 years? We're just a couple years into this. And according to this chart, it could continue for 20, 30, 40 years. It could actually get it could get better, but it's probably not going to, the market won't shrink. And then also, in the next 30 years, I'll be 60 years old, 65 years old in 30 years. I will not be worried about this problem in 35 years. Stuart and I will be sailing around the world in our yacht somewhere with you guys.
That's still alive.
What's that? But no, really, I mean, that's kind of what is there to do at the end of the day? When I'm 60, I just want to be hanging out with people that I care about. People that have shared similar passions, similar accomplishments, similar worldviews, done great things together. Like, there will be an entire community of people that help save the world from the aliens. We're teaching people how to ride a bike. It's no different. It's a skill set, no different than riding a bike or swimming, something that every one of you know how to do. And once you know how to do it, you know how to do it. How many people in here are worried about losing the ability to ride a bike? What about losing the ability to swim? Or losing the ability, forgetting how to change a tire? Or forgetting English? Once you've got it, you've got it. It's a skill set. I don't ever wake up worrying, oh shit, how am I going to make money next year? I worried that the first few years after I had the ability, but no different than the first few days after you learn how to ride a bike. You're a little shaky, right? You're not that confident. But the more you do it, the longer you do it, the more comfortable, the more confident, the more experience you have, the more naturally it comes. It's not like you don't have to worry about it. So once you learn this skill set, you can apply it to anything. And more specifically, it's the skill of marketing and being able to take somebody who has a problem, connect them with the solution, and get paid as the middleman. That's all you're doing. You're out there on the street, flagging down the people who can't ride a bike and saying, hey, we've got classes over here to sell a bike, to learn how to ride bikes. And you send them over to the bike store. The guys, they sell them a bike, they teach them how to ride it, and they give you a commission check. That's what we do. It's awesome. This is just another trend. You can see billions of ad spend online between, so this is projected out into 2030, for the next 3 years. This market, the digital economy, at an absolute bare minimum, if the world ends, maybe the world will end at some point here, I don't know, but this is 2012, got a pretty solid trend. It's not going anywhere. I think if I had to put my money on something, I'd say I would continue to bet, I would bet heavily that the digital economy will grow, continue to grow. I think that's a pretty safe bet. But I'm not a bettor. So what does digital mean? Digital basically in this context means it's instant. So 100 years ago, you had to have something of value to exchange for a product or service. So if I was a farmer and I grew turnips and I loaded them into the wagon, I could take the wagon to town and exchange the turnips for new shovels at the hardware store, for example. So turnips in that sense were a currency. Salt in the past has been a currency. Barley has been a currency. Gold has been a currency. Silver has been a currency. Aluminum used to be a currency. In fact, aluminum used to be more valuable than gold until they found out that there's a lot of it out there. It's very easy to produce. Point is once currency became digital, it became possible with the advent of, with Steve Jobs and Al Gore getting married. Remember that? When that happened, it made it possible for me to exchange a product and service with you and you to give me money instantaneously anywhere around the world, 365 days a year. That opened up, that speed of transaction has created incredible opportunity. And it's happening billions of times a day. The biggest day of online e-commerce is called Black Monday. If you look at like minute by minute spending from midnight to midnight, that 24-hour period of Black Monday, and lay it on top of each other, you can see the last 3 years how much it's increased. And that is becoming, for a lot of economists, a way of predicting online spending trends. And it's like this year is going to be like $1.5 billion to $2 billion. It's crazy how much is being spent online. And the point is that it's just so much easier now just to go onto Amazon and do your shopping. Amazon is going to eat Walmart's lunch. Why would you go to Walmart and get in line with all of those people and spend 4 hours that you could be spending with your family when you can simply go online and have it drop shipped for less money to your door? Like, think about that. Think about that. There are millions of people that work for Walmart. I mean, there are millions of people that rely on retail jobs. They're going to need jobs because you're not going to need a store at some point in the future. Why would you actually take an hour of your life that you cannot get back and go to Walmart? You've got to be out of your mind. Why would you do that? Like, why would you do that? You could read a book. You could meditate. You could exercise. There's so many things you could do with that hour. You can't get that hour back. Why would you go to Walmart with that hour? See, that's the way the next generation is going to think. Our parents, and I still go to Walmart just because that's what you do. I need some soap. Let me get in my car and go to Walmart. Or need some laundry detergent or whatever. But no. In the digital economy, you can't afford to go to Walmart. It takes gas, it takes time, all that stuff. And worse stuff, you got to stand in line with those people. Anyway, so you get the point. And as affiliates, that's a really good problem. Because that means that people are going to be going online and buying their stuff, and it gives us an opportunity to get between them and what they're looking for and make some money. Anyway, I love it. So that's the digital economy. So the demand is huge. I think we can pretty much agree on that. And it's a multifaceted issue because you have people who, on both sides, you have the people who need to make more money because their jobs, now you have a 2-household income just to cover the bills. So you've got people saying we need to make more money. You have kids that are entitled who that want everything, who are still going to want new sneakers, a PS3, a new hockey equipment, et cetera, a trip to Disney World. Still want college education, still want braces, still want a car when they turn 15. The wife still likes the diamonds, still likes the anniversary gift, still likes the Christmas cards. Those things aren't going away. Like, you want your credit card to work. I mean, these are all real world problems. Like, people are very attached to having a good, comfortable life. Like, I'm not going to go back and live in a cardboard box just because I can't make money. No, I'm going to have to figure it out, and it's going to become very competitive. That's what people are going to have to think. So the goal here is to just help you make an intelligent decision. This is, you probably can't read it, million monthly related searches. Make money online, 10 million per month. Get out of debt, 15 million per month. Home-based business, 5 million per month. Online business, 5 million per month. Income opportunity, 5 million per month. Business opportunity, 5 million per month. Entrepreneur-related, 5 million per month. That's 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50 million people per month are looking for what we do. This is you, okay? And this is your 6-figure mentors. You're working with the best. You have a millionaire mentor who cares about you and who's incentivized for your success. You have the best training, the best tools, the best systems, the best resources. You're part of a community, a family of people. There's a family feeling here today. There's a community feeling. We all have something in common, which is really cool. We're professionals. We leave the guesswork for the 97% who are still chasing their silver bullets. Oh, there's one. Oh, there's one. I just had another funny visual. So we all, aliens are coming, great. So let's hop on our bikes. We're going. Now there's going to be those people who say, no, I'm going to try to outrun the alien. Or here's my pogo stick. Do what the successful people do if you want to have the results that they have. And finally, you have a kick-ass marketing system that eliminates the vast majority of variables that cause people to fail. So you're with the right people, the right community, the right product line, the right mentors, and the right system. I think that is the end. Thus, there is an unlimited amount of wealth that can be created if you get the big picture and you can acquire the digital mindset. So, thank you very much. Oh, I'm right on the money, too. Thank you.